Story 1. I always kept my phone on silent at night, so when it lit up at 3:12 a.m., I noticed it immediately, not because of a sound, but because of the light reflecting off the ceiling. I remember opening my eyes slowly, expecting a random notification or spam, something meaningless. But what I saw made me sit up instantly. It was a message from my own number, not from a contact with the same name, not from an unknown sender, but from my exact number, as if I had sent it to myself. The message was short: "Don't answer the next call." At first I thought it was some kind of glitch, maybe a delayed message or a bug in the system, something explainable, something harmless. I checked the timestamp. It had been sent 1 second earlier. I hadn't touched my phone. My heart started beating faster, but I still tried to stay rational. Phones glitch, apps glitch, numbers get spoofed. There are explanations for everything. Then the phone started ringing. The screen showed my own number calling me. I stared at it, frozen, feeling a strange pressure in my chest, like I already knew that answering would change something I couldn't undo. I let it ring. It stopped after a few seconds. I exhaled, realizing I had been holding my breath the entire time. Then another message appeared, again from my number. Good. That was the moment when the fear stopped being abstract. It became real, heavy, present in the room with me. I turned on the lights and checked every corner of my apartment, every door, every window, but everything was locked. Nothing was out of place. I didn't sleep after that. The next day, I tried to convince myself it was some kind of hack or technical issue, but when I went to the phone store, they found nothing unusual. No malware, no suspicious activity, no explanation. That night, I decided to record everything. I set up my phone camera facing me and placed the phone on the table. I stayed awake, waiting. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the screen lit up again. A new message appeared. "You stayed." I felt my throat tighten. I hadn't told anyone what happened the night before. I hadn't written anything. The phone started ringing again, my number. This time I hesitated for only a second. Then I answered. At first there was silence. Then I heard breathing. Slow, controlled, familiar, too familiar. And then my own voice, slightly distorted, like a recording played through something old. "You shouldn't have stayed." The call ended. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I replayed the camera recording immediately, needing to see what had happened from the outside. The video showed me sitting at the table, staring at the phone. Then a second before the call started, something behind me moved. A shadow, subtle but wrong, stretching along the wall in a way that didn't match any object in the room. And then, while I was answering the call, my body on the video twitched slightly, just for a second, like something had passed through me. I didn't notice it at the time. I noticed it only on the recording. That's when I understood the message. It wasn't telling me not to answer the call. It was warning me about what would happen if I stayed long enough to receive it. The next morning, I left the apartment and never went back. I changed my number, my phone, everything. But sometimes late at night, my new phone lights up for no reason. And for a brief second, before the screen goes dark again, I see a message notification with no sender. And even though I never open it, I already know what it says. It says I didn't leave soon enough. Story 2. What if something in your house already knew your routine better than you did, and it never planned to leave? My name is Emily Rivera. I'm 35. I moved into that house because it felt safe. Quiet street, neighbors who minded their own business, solid old walls that seemed to promise nothing unexpected could ever happen. The floorboards creaked in a predictable way. Every door made a clear click when it closed. And I thought that meant I would always know if something was wrong. I was wrong. The first few nights I woke up more than I wanted to. Not from loud noises, but from a subtle shift in the air. A faint creak that didn't belong to the house settling. like something was moving carefully, deliberately, trying not to be heard. I told myself it was normal. New place, new sounds, nothing more. And for a few days I convinced myself. Then Marcus showed up. He appeared like a piece of my childhood dropped into the wrong decade. Someone who knew me well enough to feel instantly safe. He called me by a nickname I hadn't heard in 20 years, smiled like time had never passed, and somehow that was enough to make me drop my guard. We started talking, then seeing each other almost every day, and slowly he became part of my routine. He knew things about me I didn't remember telling him. The way I checked the locks twice before bed, the way I leave the bedroom window cracked open at night. I told myself it was just memory, shared history, nothing strange, until the day I came home early and felt it immediately. That heavy wrongness in the air, like the house had been breathing while I was gone. Nothing was obviously out of place, nothing broken, but the bedroom door was slightly open when I knew I'd closed it. I stepped inside slowly, listening, and that's when I heard it. Slow, controlled breathing coming from somewhere in the room. I froze, not because I was certain, but because I didn't want to be. I backed out and called Marcus without thinking. He answered right away and said he was close by. When he arrived, he didn't ask questions. He just walked inside like he already knew what he'd find. He went straight to the bedroom, checked the closet, the bathroom, under the bed, everything. Nothing. Then he turned to me and said I was imagining things, that the house was just new to me, that I needed time to adjust. I wanted to believe him so badly that I did. That same night I installed cameras inside the house, not because I was convinced something was wrong, but because I needed proof that nothing was. The next day at work, I checked the footage. The bedroom door opened slowly from the inside. Marcus stepped out, not breaking in, coming out like he'd been there the whole time. He moved through the house calmly, like it belonged to him, went to the kitchen, drank water from my glass, then returned to the bedroom and closed the door behind him. I watched it again and again, trying to understand how he got inside without being seen, but the truth was already there. He hadn't gotten in. He was already inside before I ever installed the cameras. I left work immediately and called the police. They searched the house room by room and at first found nothing. For a moment, I thought I'd lost my mind. Then one officer noticed the closet panel in the bedroom wasn't flush. When they pulled it open, they found a narrow space between the walls, hidden but clearly lived in. Blankets, empty bottles, food wrappers, and photos of me taken inside the house while I slept, while I sat, while I moved. Angles only possible if someone had been watching from inside the walls. They didn't find Marcus right away. That was the worst part. It meant he was still there, somewhere in the structure of the house, moving quietly, avoiding them just like he'd avoided me. They eventually found him deeper in the wall space, trying to crawl further, like he'd done it 100 times before, like he knew every inch of it. Later, an officer told me something I still can't shake. Marcus used to live in that house years ago. He never officially sold it, never officially left. He just disappeared from records. What they believe is that he stayed inside after the house was sold, hiding in the walls, learning how to move through them, watching whoever came next. When I moved in, he didn't need to break in. He was already there, learning my habits, my schedule, my life, waiting for the moment to step out and become part of it again. And the man who showed up at my door that night wasn't trying to get inside. He was trying to get back into the part of the house I had accidentally taken away from him. Story 3. The apartment was small, cheap, and exactly what I needed at the time. Temporary, while I figured things out, nothing permanent, nothing meaningful. My name is Anna Carter. I'm 29, and I didn't plan to stay long, just a few months at most. The only thing that bothered me from the beginning was the closet in the bedroom. It was too deep for the size of the room, stretching farther back than it should, like it belonged to a different layout entirely. The landlord said it was just old construction, that buildings like this had odd spaces, nothing unusual. I accepted it because I didn't have a better explanation. The first week passed without anything strange, until one night I woke up with the distinct feeling I wasn't alone in the room. I didn't hear anything at first, just that instinct, that quiet certainty someone else was there. Then I heard it, a faint sound from the closet, not a knock, not a scrape, but something softer like fabric shifting slowly. I turned on the light and opened the closet. Empty, clothes boxes, nothing else. I checked the walls, the floor, everything seemed solid. I told myself it was nothing. The next night it happened again, but clearer. A slow exhale, like someone trying to breathe quietly. I didn't open the closet right away. I stood staring, waiting. The sound stopped. When I finally opened it, empty again. That's when I started noticing small changes. Clothes slightly out of place, boxes shifted just enough that I couldn't be sure if it was me. I set up a camera facing the closet and left it recording overnight. In the morning I watched. Hours of nothing. Then at 2:58 a.m., the door moved. Slightly at first, then slowly opening wider. The darkness inside looked deeper than it should, like it swallowed light. And then something shifted closer to the edge, enough to show it had shape, human shape. I stopped the video, couldn't watch further. That day I told the landlord I was leaving. He didn't seem surprised. That bothered me more than anything. That night I packed, but didn't sleep. I sat on the bed staring at the closet, waiting. At some point the door was no longer fully closed. It was slightly open. I was sure I hadn't touched it. The room felt colder air, heavier. Then I heard it clearly from inside. "You saw me." It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. I stood slowly, every instinct screaming run, but something holding me, forcing me to look. I stepped closer, pulled the door open. Inside, no one. Just darkness. But it felt wrong, like the space had expanded. Then I noticed marks on the back wall. Lines scratched into the surface. I leaned closer. Not random. Counted. And next to the last one, freshly made. A word. Seen. The light behind me flickered. I turned for a second. When I looked back, the closet wasn't empty. Something stood inside so close I could feel it without touching. I didn't see a face. I didn't need to. I ran, left everything and never came back. Later I learned the previous tenant left suddenly, and the one before that. No one stayed longer than a few months. The landlord never mentioned it. But I understand now. The closet was never for storage. It was waiting. And the moment you noticed it, the moment you really saw it, you became part of whatever was inside.